Hey guys, this is Trey Ketchum. I'm the division manager for the Georgia Core Division for Vector and Cutco, and I'm excited to kind of get some time with you guys today because, well, for the biggest reason, this is advanced training. And as you come back from doing your first several days of appointments, you're in one of three paths, and it's very normal. And I want you to understand that no matter where you are right now, this is exactly where you're supposed to be. Whether you started off dominating or you started off struggling, it's okay. It's exactly what was supposed to happen. And to tell you a little bit about myself, I started with the company back in 2001. I was a college student at the time, paid my way through college working with the company. Upon graduating, I moved down and opened up my own district office, and I've been managing people ever since. The people that I've trained have sold over $39 million worth of Cutco, and I will tell you guys, no matter what training I've run, I've had three types of people leave training. I have some people that go out, and the vast majority of people that go out, and they're very average. And what I mean by that is they get the average results. That means is that about a 60% sales ratio. They've got an average order size of anywhere between 200 and 400 bucks. They're getting 5 to 10 recommendations per appointment. And if that's your path, then you know what? You're exactly where you're supposed to be. And what that means is keep learning, keep growing, keep improving your skill set so you can elevate those numbers and elevate your results. The second path that some people go on is they struggle out of the gate. And it's not good, it's not bad, it just kind of happens. And if that's you, I want to give you some encouragement and some advice. Understand that it's okay. If you did not have the results you wanted first weekend, again, it's not good, it's not bad. All that you can say is you got to focus on doing the right things moving forward. And there's no shortcut to success in our business. You've got to follow the program. You've got to do the right things. And I will tell you that, just because you had a couple of bad appointments doesn't mean you're not cut out for the job. I'll tell you, some of the best people that I know in our business struggled out of the gate. My region manager, Scott Dennis, he went out and sold, he did his first appointment. He was expecting to have a monster order, and instead of having a monster order on his very first appointment, he sold one knife. My manager, Larry Manley, his first weekend sold a whopping $142 his first weekend. He's got career sales now of over $100 million, but he started only selling $150 first weekend. I've had representatives like Amanda Adams, and Amanda was somebody who, when she first started, she struggled. She went 0 for 5. She called me crying before advanced training, saying the job wasn't for her, that she stunk at sales, and that she would never be great. Well, not only did Amanda come back, but she came back with a vengeance. After going through advanced training, I told her, I said, hey, it's probably something really small you don't even realize you're doing. But after implementing some of the key things we're going to talk about in advanced training, I guarantee you're going to see success. So don't give up on yourself, because I haven't given up on you. And she ended up going out, hitting 2 more promotions the rest of her fast start, ended up becoming one of our top representatives in the Georgia division. Sold over, sold $20,000 during the fall campaign, was in contention for a scholarship, came back the following summer, ended up having career sales of over $50,000, made enough money working part-time where she was able to made enough money working her first semester where she was able to take her second semester off without working, came back that summer, made enough money working that summer where she was able to take off the next full year of school. So if you didn't have the success you wanted your first weekend, don't worry about it. You'll be okay. Understand it's a very small sample size, and you can't make any grandiose observations based on a small sample size of 5 or 10 appointments. So if you did less than 5 or 10, there's definitely no way you can give assessments based on just those few number of appointments. So that's one path that people go on, is they struggle a little bit, and that's okay. If you struggled, work hard today during advanced training. Take a lot of notes during these videos. Use this stuff and implement it, and you'll see your results going way up. The third path that people go on is where everything goes right. And what I mean by that is that you're making sales on every single appointment. You're averaging 10 recommendations per appointment. You got a $700 average order. And my advice for you is that that's the case for you. Don't get complacent. Don't get lazy. Because guys, if you're lazy, you'll never be becoming great. So that's my biggest advice I can give you is if you did well your first weekend, we had a big average order, use that as motivation to become the best in your office, the best in our division, the best in the company. Be competitive on a national scale. Take your business to another level by utilizing these techniques and tips that I'm going to give you today to help you take your business to a whole new level. And what is great, guys, it doesn't matter where you are right now. It's where you go from here that truly will start to define who you are and what you become in our business. The other thing that I'll tell you guys is that every time you come into the office, we're going to focus on one of three things. In fact, we'll do all three every time you come into your local office. So the first thing we'll do is we'll help you get more appointments booked up. We'll always want to make sure anytime you come into the office, we're going to help you get more appointments. Why do we care so much about that? Well, because it is a numbers game. The only difference between you guys who are brand new representatives of people like myself with millions of dollars in career sales, I've been doing this job longer, so I've done more appointments and I have way more product conviction. I love the product. I love Cutco. I know it's the greatest and it's the best. I've had the privilege of using the product now for over 17 years. Never had to have any of my stuff resharpened by the company. Use it daily in my kitchen. Use it daily at the office. Couldn't imagine going a day in the life without having Cutco. So I've got more product conviction, and I've just been doing more appointments. The only difference between you guys as brand new representatives and your manager is that same very thing. Your managers have done more appointments. Your managers believe more in Cutco. So we're going to help you get more appointments because the more appointments you do, the more confident you're going to become. The more different customers you meet, the more stories you'll be able to accumulate, the more success you'll have. Also, guys, you'll experience some negativity. You'll experience some questions. You'll experience some things that you don't know how to answer and handle. And that experience is great. It's going to make you a better person later. And I will say, guys, I've had more no sales in my career than any of you guys watching this video for the first time. The reason I say that is because I've done more appointments. So you got to get more appointments. So we'll always help you get more every time you come to the office. The second thing we'll do when you come to the office is we'll actually teach you something. And so here in just a little bit, I'm going to give you some instructional material that really I feel helps to develop your business to a whole new level. We're going to go over the 5 keys to success with selling Cutco. We're going to talk about how do you set up your schedule for success. We're going to talk about how do you show it to the right people. We'll then talk about how do you do a great presentation where you're covering all of the objectives during the presentation. We'll also teach you guys how to work with customers and how to work deals, how to do something called the secret weapon or the trade-in, which I think is really going to build your confidence and you're really going to be excited. You'll probably also be mad at myself or mad at your original manager for not telling you about these deals earlier, but trust me, once you learn them, it's going to help you take your business to another level. And then the last thing, guys, is just some keys on getting recommendations. So we'll help you get great recommendations. So that's the second thing that we'll do is we'll always help you by getting better at the business. So every time you come in, so if you get invited to a sales leadership development meeting that I run, we'll do some of these very same things. If you get a chance to come in when you go to your team meetings, your managers and you will work on these very same things, okay? And then the third thing, sorry. The third thing that we'll also do is we'll help you out with any contest that's going on. And we also have an amazing contest that's happening for you, all of you watching this video for the first time. You've got your Fast Start contest, and I can't think of a better contest to have than our Fast Start contest. I mean, where else can you work where you can win thousands of dollars worth of free stuff just by doing your job your first 2 weeks? I don't know of very many places that do that, but you have that ability here with our Fast Start contest. Where else are you going to have where you have opportunity to win trips based on working hard for 2 weeks? I can't think of any other companies, especially available to young professionals, where you can win a trip based on working hard for 2 weeks. So we're going to help you out with that Fast Start contest today. We're also going to help you out with any other contests that may be going on in your local office. So every time you come in, those 3 things will happen. We'll help you get more appointments. We'll help you by teaching you some things, and we'll also help you with any contests going on. So the next thing I want to talk about is how do you put things into perspective? And one of the best ways to put things into perspective is using the 10-80-10 rule. And so if you've got pen and paper, guys, definitely take that out because you'll want to take some notes on these very topics. So the 10-80-10 rule is a huge deal. What is it? Well, the 10-80-10 rule is as follows. 10% of the people that you see, no matter what, no matter how great you are, no matter how amazing you are, 10% of the people that you see will never buy. 10% of the people you see will never give you recommendations. So what that means is that you could be perfect. You could do everything the right way. I could do the appointment for you, and you'll have a sale 10% of the time. You may have had somebody like that this weekend where no matter who did the presentation, it was going to be a no sale. Your manager could have done the demo for you, and it ended up being a no sale. So if you have one of those customers, don't stress it. Now, if it's more than 1 out of every 10, it's not what the customer is, but what you're doing that's hurting you. Okay? It's not who they are, but what you're saying or what you're doing. But 10% of the time, it just is going to be that. Now, the good news to that is another 10% of the time, they're always going to buy. You're going to have 10% of the people that you show Cutco to that no matter how bad you are, I'm talking you could completely butcher the presentation, and 10% of the time they're going to purchase. You may have had a customer like that this weekend where you messed up left and right and they still purchased. Raise your hand if you had that. I had that my first weekend. I remember my first homemaker sale. I was so nervous at the end that when I asked them if they wanted to buy it, when they said yes, instead of saying of course, I was like, really? Are you sure you want to do that? Like, don't do that, by the way. That's a terrible idea. Never say really, are you sure? Let them go ahead and buy it. But again, it totally threw me off. So I was not that good. It was just that Cutco was that great. So you're going to have 10% of the people that are always going to buy. You're going to have another 10% of people that will always give you recommendations no matter what. Okay, so understand that. Now, what that means is that there's another 80% out there. And that 80%, let me let you guess what you think it is. Right? Well, if you guess it depends on you. Right? If you guess that 80% depends on you. If you guess that 80% of it was on us, then you were correct. Because that is 80% of the presentations that you do, 80% of the customers that we see, they're going to buy and give recommendation based on 3 things. Based on our skills, based on our attitude, and based on our enthusiasm. And so let's talk about that. What are skills? Skills is, are you doing what your manager taught you to do? Are you following the manual? That's super critical because if you don't follow the manual, you're not covering the 7 keys to marketing. You're not properly connecting. You're not establishing credibility. You're not identifying a need. You're not causing and showing a solution and finding a specific solution. You're not asking for the order the right way, and you're certainly not getting recommendations the right way. So you gotta follow the manual. That's part of the skills. Enthusiasm, right? Enthusiasm, that's, are you having fun? And guys, it is meant to be fun. The presentation is designed to be engaging. So you got to make sure you're having fun on those presentations. Don't just be sitting there going through the motions with them. You got to get really excited every time you show them the product. And even if it's been your 5th or 6th appointment for the day, you got to still make sure you're bringing that enthusiasm for every single customer. Treat every customer as it was your first one of the day. Treat every customer as if they were the very best person you could in the world show Cutco to. And if you do that, you're going to set yourself up for great success. And one of the easiest ways to have enthusiasm, by the way, is just to cut up more food. If you're cutting up food, they're going to be excited. When you cut up that penny, they get jacked up. So have enthusiasm, okay? That's a big deal, showing enthusiasm. The third part of that, though, which is actually the middle part that I covered, so I said skills, attitude, and enthusiasm. Attitude is the most important. Okay, what's your expectation? And what I mean specifically is, do you expect to sell every single time? And if you don't expect to sell every single time, well, why bother? You've already shot yourself in the foot. If you think about a great basketball player, I'm from UNC Chapel Hill. I'm a huge Carolina basketball fan, so I'm going to use the greatest that ever played, Michael Jordan. And if you take Michael Jordan, if you got a fan of somebody else, maybe you're a fan of LeBron, maybe you're a fan of Steph Curry, maybe you're a fan of Russell Westbrook or James Harden, but whoever you're a fan of, doesn't really matter. What does matter is if you take a great basketball player, do you think they expect to make it when they take a shot? If you played a sport, when you went up to take a free throw, or when you played baseball, or if you play any sport for that matter, you expect to make every shot you take. Now, does it happen every single time? Absolutely not. But you got to expect it to. And that's one of the traits of all of our great people in our business too. They expect to sell every single time. Guys, you've got the best product of its kind anywhere on the planet. And I'm going to argue, guys, that if they could afford McDonald's, then they could afford Cutco. And I know there are some people out there that cannot afford McDonald's. For example, if they're homeless or if they're unemployed, I get it, right? By the way, if they're homeless, there's nowhere to ship the knives. So that kind of hurts us right there. There's nowhere to do the appointment. So you don't want to be showing them Cutco anyway. But if they're unemployed, I get it. They've got other priorities. But guys, if they could afford McDonald's, then they could afford Cutco. And I'll show you guys that a little bit later. But at the end of the day, you got to have that confidence expecting to make a sale 100% of the time. Because here's what you got to understand. On every appointment you do, there's going to be 2 sales made regardless. See, either you sell the customer on how Cutco is going to better their life and they're going to have it for the rest of their life and they choose to get Cutco, or they sell you on a reason not to buy it. So that's one sale that's going to happen. The second sale is either you sell them on why you're working through school and how you're doing this job and how it's bettering your life by doing this job. And so them helping you with recommendations takes you one step closer to your goals in life, or they sell you on a reason not to give you recommendations. But either way, there's a sale there made. So who's selling who? Either you're selling them or they're selling you. Now, the reason why I put it so simply is because if instead you can always say that moving forward from this moment that you're going to take ownership and responsibility, that's the first step towards being great in our business. Guys, and that was a piece of advice I'll give you for anything in life. Take responsibility for everything. Good, bad, indifferent. Take responsibility. So what that means is moving forward. If you have a customer that buys Cutco, it's not that they bought, it's that you made a sale. Okay? If you have a customer that chooses not to buy Cutco, it's not that they didn't buy, it's that you had a no sale. So take ownership, take responsibility. Like I said, 90% of the time we can affect it anyway. So just take 100% of the responsibility. And the reason why I say take responsibility 100% is if you say, hey, it's up to me, it's on me, what that does is that gives you control. That gives you confidence. That gives you the power to dictate your destiny. That gives you the ability to take your business to another level. That gives you ability to elevate yourself. See, guys, you can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it. And so if you just say, hey, it's on me, that's, again, taking you closer towards being the better version of yourself. And then ultimately, it takes you better to be in a better version of a representative here. And if you take those ownership, if you get the skill set down, you get the attitude in the right place, you got the right enthusiasm, you can really expect to have an 80 or 90% sales ratio. And there's probably people sitting there in the room with you right now that are already at that moment already. So you know what? The goal is if you're there, like I said, don't get complacent. Take your business higher. Can you become the greatest? If you're right at the average, can you get to that 80 or 90% sales ratio like our top people? And if you're struggling right now, can you take a bunch of notes today, more notes than anybody else, so that you come out and become the best based on your effort and energy? It's not about where you start. It's about what you do in relation to taking it higher. Okay, it's what you do on a daily basis to get better. You need to have a long-term a long-term vision for where you want to go with a short-term focus on improving, your skills, your attitude, and your enthusiasm. And so that's what we're going to talk today. So your managers are going to share some hot news of some people, what they've already done and what you guys have already achieved just in your first couple of days on the job. And then right after that, I'm going to take over by talking about the 5 keys to success with selling Cutco. So I'll talk to you here in a little bit.